Titans, episode 60. We have Alice Chen. She's an entrepreneur turned investor and also a biohacker. We're going to talk about that and much more, so make sure you stick around to the end. Alice, welcome.
Thank you, Jacob. Nice to hang out with you on a Saturday morning.
It is, most definitely. Now, to jump into some intensity here, describe the moment in your life where you felt the most fiercely alive.
You know what? I'm feeling pretty good right now. So I'm working on very exciting stuff. I feel very sovereign, like I'm very much in control of my destiny. I'm very in alignment with my soul's purpose. So I'm feeling good every day. And I think that's really what you want to pursue. It's not like a singular moment, but a persistent state of feeling aligned with your purpose.
That's really powerful because sovereign has been one of the words that I've been thinking about and working on consistently lately, building that sovereignty, taking decisions, and just building systems for sovereignty, whether that be through business or just through personal, everyday, daily habits. What are some of these systems, or how do you approach building this sovereignty that you're discussing?
Yeah, I'm a little bit philosophical about this topic, and it's really interesting that you've been thinking about this word as well. So for me, I think I've done a lot of different exercises on my highest values, right? And my number one highest value is freedom. And I think to have total freedom, you need to be sovereign. So sovereign means you get to decide what you do, how you do it, who you do it with, and when. So across all those different choice points, like you are able to chart your own destiny. So for me, being sovereign means working on things I feel passionate about. I'm really big on working towards a mission. So for me, at this point, business is a tool, is a platform for me to fulfill a life mission, right? We're all on this journey of discovery. So for me, I am being called to build something that's bigger than myself. And and just really pursue what's calling me. Anything that can help me optimize my performance, my team's performance, I'm a really big fan of. So right now, my team and I are exploring actually a lot into AI workflows, right? So you can't really ignore that. It's happening. It's going to be a $1 trillion business by 2030. I think the emergence of AGI is inevitable. It's not, might it become emergent? It will become emergent. It's just a matter of when. It's maybe 5 years. It's probably shorter, probably in 3 years. But yeah, so it's a lot of explorations about that. And being sovereign means implementing systems to help you optimize for your end goal. And on a daily basis, you talked about biohacking. So I think being sovereign is about being sovereign of your body and your emotional state as well. Before we got on the show, we were talking about your endurance challenge tomorrow. Good luck, by the way, but I know you don't need luck because you sound fully prepared to do, I think it was like 1,000 bench press or something crazy like that.
500.
Yes.
500,
Okay.
500 bench, 500 deadlifts, superset back to back.
Yeah. So that to me is a perfect example of how one can become sovereign in how they live this existence.
Definitely. No, that resonates a lot because when you talk about emotions, when you really get into anything that's intense, whether that be through business or physical means or anything that maybe you're writing a book or you're doing something that really forces you to go deeper, so many times it's these emotional energies or emotional walls that you come up against in your mind that if you advance depends on how you engage with that. And you could perceive, for example, a very concrete evidence that I have of this is when you're doing an endurance event, oftentimes you'll get pain that feels physical and it feels like you need to stop. Running, biking, this is a great example. Let's say you're doing an Ironman or something. And when you just push through, you will find sometimes it's an emotional or a mental game where you have to repeat something in your head, like I can do this, I'm powerful, whatever it is. Could be anything. Or maybe it's just pressing forward and amplifying up your physical energy, focus on that area. Maybe it's your knee that hurts. I've had this happen before, sitting on a bike, biking 50, 60 miles. Your legs start to hurt. You don't feel like you can keep going and you press through. All of a sudden, 10 miles later, you feel better than ever and it's never even hurt. And I found that in business as well, where you'll be working on an initiative, things might feel challenging, and you embrace that, whatever the pain is or the emotion that comes up. And it's like the most natural experience of transmutation. I think it's the actual real experience of transmutation, to use that word, but it's esoteric. We hear transmutation. So what have been some experiences where you've had to press up against those things, those mental barriers or physical barriers, and overcome them?
Yeah. So I definitely had my shares of that, and across business, across like physical challenges. Like physically, right now, I'm implementing a regimen of fasting from Monday night until Tuesday night. So I stop eating after Monday night's dinner, and I don't eat and I don't resume eating until Tuesday night. And it's interesting because I looked into this quite a bit. It's like ketosis actually kicks in by about 10 a.m. the next day, I think somewhere between 12 and 14 hours. So you start to feel like, okay, there's something different about my body and how I'm experiencing my state. But you feel okay, but by 2 or 3 p.m., you start to feel like some other symptoms. You have dry mouth. You really feel like that ketosis kick in. And by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock the next day, I'm starting to shake, right? So then the way I have been dealing with it is just I keep myself very busy during that time. And you'd be really surprised like how much time you can save by not eating, not having to prepare the food, not having to actually have that thing on your mind as a thing you have to do. And so, of course, it's physically unpleasant, right? Just like any other type of physical training. Like yesterday, I was at the gym lifting heavy weights with a trainer. And I have to hire a trainer to help me augment my process because if you know that systems can help you, again, I'm a big fan of implementing those systems. And so it's just you have to put yourself in these situations where you're aided by systems to get to the next level. And then I think I just really keep in mind like the ultimate outcome, the long game outcome I'm trying to achieve to override the immediate physical discomfort. So that's what I do. And I wouldn't say I'm anywhere near your level of athleticism and like fitness, but prior to COVID, I was more on that track and I did the Tough Mudder
Mm.
competition. So it's like a Spartan race. And I remember having gone through 28 obstacles. I couldn't believe that I did it. Like, I just literally never identified myself as someone that could do such a thing. But once you get through it, then you have this new layer of understanding of self. And in business as well, it's every time I have a challenge, like right now, I have a challenge of standing up an AI agency to help legacy industries like real estate and private equity, these type of like analog industries that I come from to help them actually come out of a lower tech environment into the AI age. So it's been a sprint. So I would work really hard, a couple months at a time, just like running a sprint. And then I give myself a bit of a break because you need time to integrate and process the sprints and then you can come back to it. So I think implementing a lot of these like practical hacks is actually very helpful in helping you transcend to that next.
Well said. And you mentioned the new layer of self when you accomplish something that goes beyond what you previously thought you could. And I go back to an experience that I had with a friend where we were talking about him going to the gym or starting a business or something like that. And we said, why not do it? You have everything's in place. And he said, that's just not who I am. That's just not me. And my challenge to him was, you don't even know who you are, in the sense of, yeah, I
We
mean,
can be
like,
whoever you are. Really, we can
yeah,
be whoever we are. So what I found in the last 16 years of being an entrepreneur is really what separates a successful person and a person that just is a wannabe entrepreneur, want to be successful, is that the person that is doing, they have now identified themselves as that version of themselves, right? So this is something I do every day with myself. I do an exercise called lofty questions in the morning. So it helps me integrate into the next version of myself. For example, if I want to become a world-class speaker. So right now I'm preparing for my TEDx talk, the first one that's going to come up. And I have never really been on that type of world stage before. So I don't quite identify 100% with the identity of a TEDx speaker, of a world-class speaker on stage, right? So for me to get there, I have to first see myself in that version of my new self in order to be able to do it. So it's like the be, do, have principle. You got to first be that, and then you'll naturally, from that place, do the stuff that person would do. And then you'll have the stuff that you want to achieve through being that person. So most people do it backwards, and then it's a lot of information gathering. It seems like there's just never enough data to make them feel prepared to take the first step. But often that's an emotional issue. It's an emotional state management issue. So I think that understanding of yourself, like the new layer of your identity, is so important. That's like the number one thing I do every morning to tune my brain to that frequency, the new frequency, and in order to set my day up and start to function from that point.
Do you do it through priming? I watched another one of your
Yes.
podcasts that you did and talked about priming. Or is there a different practice that you would do or recommend for that?
Yeah, I love that you've done some homework. So I experiment all the time. So in the morning, I have my 6-step morning ritual right now. And I'm always like measuring myself. So I would test something for a couple months and then see how I'm performing. And sometimes I'll shift things, right? So for example, this lofty questions component is something that I implemented since beginning of the year, right? So this I didn't invent it. I learned from Mind Valley. So people like Vishen Lakhiani, who's the founder of Mind Valley, he does that every morning. Reagan Hillier, who's the internet's queen of manifestation, she does it every morning. She talks a lot about functioning from that new identity. But yeah, so typically in the morning, I wake up and I do gratitude right away. So 3 things I'm grateful for. And then right after that, I do some type of brain tuning exercise to help me like tune into that new identity. And then I'll do some type of what I call the morning energetic conditioning, right? So I listen to a podcast. It could be priming. I haven't done priming for a while. Huge Tony Robbins fan. Went to UPW twice, walked on fire twice, went through everything that's in Tony Robbins Mastery University. I've done a lot of personal development, almost everything under the sun. So I'm constantly experimenting, right? So I measure myself, I implement something for a good amount of time to let the performance play out, but then I measure, and if it's not getting me where I want to be on pace, then I switch things up.
So what made you switch out of priming? You realized the data isn't showing you?
I think priming takes about 10 minutes, and so I like variety. So at one point, it was like listening to the same priming exercise 30 days in a row became a little bit boring. And also because it takes 10 minutes. A lot of times when I'm doing the energetic conditioning, I'm multitasking. Like I'm doing it while I'm getting ready in the morning, while I'm in the shower. I have to, just because that morning time is so important. And I don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. to be able to accommodate everything I need to do. And so at some point, you just have to do a bit of a trade-off, right? So you have to just pick and choose. And I'm always experimenting. I may go back to priming, but right now it's like I wake up, do the gratitude practice. I do the lofty questions. Recently, the recent month, I've been working with a hypnotherapist coach on actually subconsciously reprogramming my identity as well. So there's like a 3-minute meditation that she has me do. And that's been very effective. It's called the light shield energy meditation. So basically it's a visualization of how I create this light shield around me to shield myself from the energy of the day, because I'm in meetings all day. I'm meeting with people. I'm on these podcasts. I'm just constantly interacting with that environment. So a lot of times you're not knowingly picking up someone else's frequency or vibes or mood, whatever you want to call it. And it might lift you up, it might drag you down, but you want to be very sovereign. Again, going back to that word, like you want to maintain your sovereign state throughout the day. And so I've been finding that light shield component of my morning ritual really helpful. Yeah. And then I do some exercise in the morning. If I'm not training with a trainer, I try to get on the rebounder, even if it's just for a minute. I'll rebound for a minute. That's super good. Yeah. And I think all these little things, like they really add up. So I'm
They
curious.
do.
Yeah. What do you do in the morning?
So I found that in times of challenge, I will respond better to morning routines and stuff. Mainly what I would do is breathing. So Wim Hof, if you're familiar,
I have done his training actually one time.
the course, right?
Yeah, the course. Yeah,
With
it's
the
like a
stretching.
half day course in Vancouver.
Oh, okay, you did that
Went
one.
into the ice bath for sure.
So there's a video series that did you ever see that one? He released it, I think it was 10 years ago.
I may have, and don't quite remember.
So it was a it was like his first course, I believe. And it was the breathing plus stretching. And then you would do, so the stretching was like an hour
Yeah.
plus the breathing, because it was essentially that you do the main exercise and then you do the breathing, but while you're stretching. And apparently they were able to prove that it sends energy through that area more effectively. And
Okay.
so I did that one, but that was years ago. So usually I will do either the Wim Hof method or the Marcel Hof method. Have you seen that one? His brother?
No. What's
That
that
one's
one?
great. That one is much more intense. So with Wim Hof, it's the 30 breaths or 28 breaths, deep breath out, hold that for a minute and a half or what have you, and then breathe in. The Marcel Hof method is essentially you start out, it's a 6-minute block and you do 3 of them. So the first minute you breathe slowly. So it's, and then the next one is a little bit faster, next one a little bit faster, next one a little bit faster, all the way to the 5th minute, you're, and Marcel is hitting a drum. There's this video is on YouTube. It's pretty fantastic.
Okay.
And then in the 6th minute, what you do, rather than breathing out, or for that 6th minute, you just breathe all the way in and you hold it for 1 minute and then you start again. So you start slow and then you go fast again. And so I love breathing exercises. Those are the 2 I do the most.
Yeah.
And then I would add in priming, because I found that priming does help really get your state and your mind in the right place.
Yeah.
I had an interesting experience with it too, where
Okay.
I just did it. This was last month. And I did a deal with somebody earlier this year and it just didn't work out. There was some issues arose and whatnot. And as part of the priming, you send love to people. And I sent love to this guy. I was like, great, I had that experience with them. I'm really glad that whatever happened is all for the best. And he ended up calling me like 2 days later. And we hadn't talked in 6 months whatsoever. We talked 0 in 6 months. And he just like, hey man, I just wanted to tell you that I'm sorry how that all happened. And I do want to work with you. I thought working with you was fantastic. And I'm ready to do this thing again. I was like, no way. It's just,
No.
oh, yeah. So that's my morning routine. And then I just get right to work. I don't drink any caffeine, so I just do decaf coffee.
Yeah, me
That's
either.
something I've learned about myself.
Yeah, so I'm in the same camp. I haven't had caffeine for probably 5 years, and I have never felt better. Because caffeine, they say it's actually worse than alcohol. So drinking caffeine gives you this artificial high, and then you crash, and then you're in this vicious cycle of not actually letting your body utilize actual energy from within your body. So it's a cycle that you want to avoid. Yeah, and to your question of how do you transcend something that's difficult? A lot of people will say, they'll ask me, what's your biohacking secret? And if I mention that, well, I don't drink coffee, they'll be like, no, I could never do that. I only drink 1 a day. So I find that most of the population, they're unwilling to actually do what's required of them or what's suggested to them. So I think that separates the people that are in the top 1 percentile of performance versus the rest.
For sure. And then there's a social conditioning aspect of it as well, and social acceptability. If someone does some kind of drug that's illegal and it's not socially acceptable, it's a very small subset of people, and there's probably not benefits that are marketed versus like things like caffeine, where they say, oh, your risk of heart disease or heart failure or all these kind of things are decreased. But the reality is, if your energy is up and down all day and you have to drink caffeine, or for me, it was like energy drinks where they just started loading them. Oh, they're terrible. Now they started loading them with 200 or 300 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would get the worst up and downs. And it's like, no, that's not sovereign.
No.
There's a need to look beyond what is marketed as benefits in our society on some of those things and make your own decisions, which is right in line with what you're talking about. Successful people make their own decisions.
Yeah. So that's why I think as a biohacker, you use your own body and your own state as a measuring tool, right? So I'm always calibrating. I'm always like checking in with my body or with my mental state and asking myself, is this helpful? Is this draining me? And then you just recalibrate. It's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing experiment, an ongoing practice. It's just a way of life.
And I'm surprised you said that thing about the fasting, because I'm big into fasting. And I find that when you get deeper into fasting, or really just removing a lot of things from your life, you're able to test how something really affects you. Because if you wake up, you have your coffee, and then you go have your McDonald's breakfast, and then you have 3 hours later, you get your salad and whatever, you have a lot of inputs, you're watching TV or whatever just more and more inputs, and you have social media, you watch 1,000 clips, you really lose context about what affects you and what makes you better and what makes you worse. And when you start to really remove fasting or other things like that, you have that cup of coffee and you're like, man, I didn't even need that. I felt good. I felt good before that, or whatever that might be, even down to eating cookies or like sugar in the processed foods and how that affects you. When you really clear your system out and clear your mind, you notice how big
Yeah,
those things are.
I 100% agree. And I think that's why it's so important to stay sovereign and stick to those systems to help you stay sovereign throughout the day. And what I found with fasting, even though I'm just doing it really 1 22 to 24-hour cycle in the week, and I do it from Monday night to Tuesday morning because I actually work out with the trainer on Monday morning. So I need to have some food and some nutrition in my body. But Tuesday morning, I don't have anything physical in terms of training, so I can be a little bit lighter. So I think by removing these distractions, like eating as a distraction or social media, like I forbid myself from checking social media until 12 noon, even though I get most of my news headlines from social media. It's not even just to chat with my friends or anything, but it's really just to get information. But I find that if you start your day looking at your phone, especially looking at social media, all of a sudden you're like, wow, I just lost 2 hours. I have no idea where I floated to. And you just lost the most golden hours of your day. So that's something that I think, yeah, people really should implement is like really monitoring your social media use. In this day and age, I don't think anyone can get away without being on social media, right? Because we're so connected and so much of business is done on social media. But I think if you could remove the distractions, you'll find how productive you are. Like I love being on planes and I don't mind. Sometimes I'm flying from San Francisco to Dubai, for example, 15-hour flight. I love it because I have limited distractions. I bring the work, like deep work that I need to do, and I get it done. I get it done while I'm in this kind of captive environment. I have to just focus. And you're not picking up on other people's frequencies and your team asking you about this or your investors asking you about that. And so you're just able to focus.
And I've had those experiences as well. One kind of explanation for that, on top of being in a Wi-Fi free area or, well, Wi-Fi free, but in airplane mode, you get what I'm saying,
Yes.
is that your brain does respond as you go to different locations. The conditioning of whatever environment, the way you typically operate doesn't exist. Let's say you go to a coffee shop and you feel
Yeah.
more productive. It's because your brain's actually more excited.
Yes.
On the dopaminergic level, your brain's, oh, this is exciting, this is different, and it's taking in these different inputs, and you're just channeling that into focus. So I always think about how to create that and really harness that energy. That what if I put my phone on airplane mode and I just treated it like this moment was me in an airplane? Could I be more productive? And so there's the mind over matter in some senses.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And are you familiar with the growth hormone improvements or increases when you do a 20-hour fast?
Yes, I recently started to look into it, but I don't know a ton about it. But what are you implementing in your day to day that's been making an impact?
Yeah, I eat one meal a day.
What time? I'm curious.
So I eat at typically around 1:30ish.
Okay.
Yeah. So I learned about this routine 8 years ago. It's called the Dr. Nun Amen Ra Life Extension Regimen. So this guy is 60 years old. He started this when he was about 30 and he still looks 30. He is in incredible shape. He's a vegan. He's very intense in that way, but he's also a world-class power lifter. His deadlift is like 750 pounds and he's 164 pounds. So and Wim Hof actually eats one meal a day, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. So
But
there's a good amount of people that do it. And I have just found, I used to, when I was young, I worked at a gym and eat the 6 to 8 meals a day. You got your chicken and rice, the tiny little servings. And over time, I just found that when I was leaving college, I was exploring what could I do? I wanted to lose some weight at the time. And I found this and I immediately knew that it would be great. So I've been getting back on it here for the last 3 weeks. And essentially what happens is after about 23 hours, or it's 22 to 23 hours of your fast, your growth hormone for men increases by 2,300%. Just a massive release of growth hormone. And then for women, I think it's like 1,000% or something like that. So it's a 10x improvement. And so when you're doing that on a daily basis, so in your fast, you're getting that benefit. And then essentially, let's say you go and you do a workout and then you feed and then you rest, your body's using that growth hormone to the maximum degree. So you're like getting the physical benefits of that.
wow.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to look into it. Yeah, thanks for the tip.
Yeah, very well studied. So I'll share the study with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've always found like for myself that I'm just an extreme person and I do well with extremes. And
Yeah.
so go back to what we're talking about with people making their own decisions. I had the challenges where I thrive in extreme conditions and intense scenarios and everything like that. And there was a journey of being like, okay, yes, like I can do these extreme things and just not have to feel like I need to conform or do what other people do or do what the crowd does. So have you ever had any experiences like that where you had to break away and do your own thing?
I break away every day. But I'm not extreme like you. Like I'm somewhat. I'm just very much leaning into my own drum beat. I don't accommodate really. You know how some people they have the accommodator inclination, and so they're people pleasing. So I'm almost like a little bit opposite of that. So I just am very consistent, right? So my brand in the world, and a lot of people they respect me, and then my friends come to me when they know they need some rational advice because they know that I'm very consistent. So they know I'm very fair. I'm very consistent. I stand for my set of principles and I stick to them no matter what my environments are. For example, one thing I do, which is maybe a little bit disappointing to my partner who is very sociable, is that he likes to answer yes or RSVP to random invites of parties, right? So one thing that I have known about myself is that if I'm going to be in this world doing big things, I need to be discerning about how I allocate my time. So often, more than not, I will decline these type of social invitations where I'm not saying that I don't find value in a certain type of social interactions, but I have to mark the line somewhere. So it's like the ability to not want everyone to like you and to the ability to like to mark a line somewhere in all areas of your life is very important. So you have boundaries and then know what you stand for. So I'm not extreme, but I'm very consistent. People will like me or not like me for that, but it's relevant to me because
Mm.
my ultimate sovereign objective is to be true to myself and to continue on my mission. And I will do everything that I need to do to follow that.
And is that what you define as your calling or is there something else? Because you mentioned your calling earlier. Would you define that as your calling or is there broader one?
Yeah, so in terms of the specific calling, like I do think that business is my art form or my playground. But exactly what business, I don't even think it's actually an idea in my head yet. I feel like everything I've done the last 16 years has all been a preparation. You've read my bio, so you know that I've accomplished different things in my life. I've done interesting things and been on a lot of business magazines and done this and that. I've been a startup founder across different industries. I right now manage private equity fund, but throughout all of that 16-year experience, I feel like it's all actually preparing me for something amazing. But I don't even think that idea has come yet, but I'm doing everything and enjoying every day to optimize myself for that calling. But I know it's something in business and something that's going to make huge impact, positive impact in the world, using business as a skill set and a tool. But exactly what subject matter, what domain, I don't know yet.
Have you had any hints? Because I know back you were in medicine way back and earlier in your career, movies, various entrepreneurial ventures, alcohol company, land investing. So do you have any hints of what that might be?
I think it'll be technology oriented. It would be something in tech just because of distribution. So before we started the show, you and I were talking about your new endeavor in terms of tech distribution. I think to make a huge impact in today's environment has to be something tech related. And maybe in parallel path to that, maybe something that has no tech. Like I have a piece of property in Costa Rica that I want to develop into a micro resort. So that one will just be no tech. It's like slow living, right? So returning to nature. So I think it will be what's worthwhile that's coming in the future will be very much on either extremes. So it's either very tech or no tech and return to nature, like almost like homesteading. So it would be very interesting. I'm curious to see what the future holds for me, but I think it will probably be from both ends of the spectrum.
Have you done homesteading or something like that yourself?
No, I haven't.
No camping?
Yeah, so right now I live in California and very lucky we have a really nice garden here in Santa Cruz Beach town of Silicon Valley. And so we do grow some stuff, but it's like we're still very much shopping, very much going to grocery stores and very much shopping online. So not really. I can't say that I'm an expert, but I have an inclination to learn more about it. And I have been exploring like different ways of running a micro resort or a wellness resort or glamping. I feel this natural draw towards things like that. So yeah, who knows?
Have you ever been to Minnesota? Here
Not
where I am?
yet. Not yet. I would love to.
It's really beautiful. I've lived here my whole life and gone to Europe, traveled to California. I love California. It's totally beautiful. Second place where I'd want to live for sure. And coming back to Minnesota, we have something very special here. All the lakes, incredible trees and nature, forests. We don't get a lot of press, and a lot of people that live here probably down talk it, myself included at different
Yeah.
times. But when you just get out in nature and you, for example, the Boundary Waters, somewhere way up north, some of the most beautiful place you could possibly be.
Wow. Okay. Now that's on the map and you're going to draw a lot of the tourist attention. It's maybe a
Right.
good thing that it's not been super branded and super promoted because you can then keep it pristine. It's the best kept secret.
Yeah, you have to take a step and come out camping. That would be, because if you to really learn what that homesteading life is about.
Yes.
So you've never done camping really, or
No, I have when I was
okay,
younger. But now I'm a big fan of glamping. Glamping is not really, it's very far from homesteading, but at least I'm in nature. So I'm a big fan of a company called AutoCamp. So AutoCamp, they have different glamping sites by national parks like Yosemite, Russian River, Sequoia National Park, Joshua Tree, some other destinations on the East Coast as well. So yeah, I'm a big glamper. I just love that. I've gone to and stayed at the world's fanciest hotels, but I love landscape hotels or landscape glamping type of outfits because I love being in nature. But I still appreciate a hot shower. I still appreciate my
right?
sleep. So that would be my pick.
Why Costa Rica?
I think Costa Rica is a very neutral zone geopolitically. So it's really Switzerland of Latin America. And it's not like I'm not fluent in Spanish. I know 5 words in Spanish. So it's something I can probably learn. But I just love that vitality, the sense of vitality. I don't know if you've been to Costa Rica, but they are like Nicoya Peninsula is one of the 5 blue zones in the world. So when I am there, I do feel like this overwhelming feeling of wellness. So I feel like longevity is actually within reach, is possible. Like I feel well. And then the Costa Ricans, they have this principle called pura vida. And they give you a little shaka, they'll say pura vida, which means
Life.
yeah, it's a little bit like, oh, it's all good. Just enjoy life. So they really embody that spirit. And then so it's such a contrast to our North American culture of hustle and getting ahead and high performance. And so I think when I take myself out of this environment and plant myself over there, I just feel so much vitality, so much life force and energy. And they just have amazing biodiversity. People are very, for the most part, I think people are very nice, very welcoming of other people that's joining their kind of ethos of life. And yeah, and then it's just so beautiful, right? So you can live a couple minutes by the ocean. It's not going to break your bank. Like it's still relatively affordable. So yeah, so it's one of my bucket list goals to develop this micro resort in Costa Rica sometime in the future.
That's amazing. And then the blue zone. What's a blue zone?
So yeah, so this is something that I think you would appreciate looking into. So if you just Google blue zones, so there's 5 of them in the world, maybe 7 of them now, but people tend to live beyond 100 years. There's a high propensity for people living beyond 100. I think Netflix did a documentary on blue zone living as well. So just definitely check it out. Like Sardinia, Italy is another one. Okinawa, Japan is another one. Costa Rica, I think there's a place in California somewhere that's like that too. But it's just all these places, they share the common principles of just really simple things of life, like eating food in processed form, walking a lot, like in a lot of these geographic locales, like the older people, they have to actually climb a lot of the stairs to get somewhere to even just do daily things. So I think walking, climbing steps, very important, eating fresh food and connecting with family and friends. So just like very simple things in life that unfortunately are now a luxury for North Americans to actually embody on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, so check it out, Blue Zone.
So you're not a dabbler when it comes to longevity at all.
So I'm really interested in, but I'm not like a Brian Johnson.
Right.
I live a life where I'm trading immortality or near immortality for not being able to eat a steak, not being able to drink a glass of red wine with that steak, and having to take 200 pills a day and stop eating at 11 a.m. I don't think I would elect for that kind of lifestyle. Like, even if I'm living hundreds of years, because for me, it's what's the point of living hundreds of years of being that? But of course, I appreciate that someone like him is experimenting with their own bodies to show us the way, right? Show us at least optionality. You can choose. So for me, it's every day, every decision point is a trade off. Okay, I want to be fully informed. If I go this route, this is what it's going to look like, pluses and minuses, right? If I go that route, this is the what's going to look like, the pros and cons, right? So I think I always choose to be sovereign over my own choices and to have optionality. I think that's the most important thing. You choose. This is like your own life is like your own venture, right? So you choose your own adventure. So this is your chance and you choose your own venture. So if I choose to smoke cigarettes right now because I enjoy it, then I'm choosing that I'm likely to get lung cancer later on. So you're just always making these trade-off choice points.
And one of the things I've observed about you, and you mentioned this throughout the interview, is that when it comes to your businesses, they haven't simply been in one industry. A lot of people, they'll go and develop themselves in one industry, and that'll just be the industry they'll stay in forever. How have you been able to go from one industry to the next? And is there a framework that you're using for exactly the things that you're talking about there for decision making when it comes to markets, when it comes to opportunity, when it comes to how you're representing each of the businesses that you're going after, like Mexi? Getting that to be a top 10 distributed product in California there was clearly an opportunity in alcohol. I actually had a alcohol VC on my podcast. I think he was episode 36 or something like that. And so there was a significant opportunity over the last few years, and you've clearly capitalized on that. And how are you going about finding these trends and turning them into businesses that are producing and keeping you independent and free and sovereign?
Yeah, I think on face value, it seems like I've done a lot of random things. They're not related to each other. But if I go deeper on exactly what I have done, there's actually a through line. And it's a through line of disruption and innovation in an incumbent industry, in a legacy industry. So I'm typically coming into an industry driven by passion to come in and look around and see how things are being done and apply first principles to revamp the system. So there's this persistent theme, common theme of coming in as a bit of an outsider, but looking at how things are done, figuring out what's not been effective, what's not been efficient, and then finding new ways to optimize and innovate. So I'll give you a bit of an intro on my history. So I started out as a corporate lawyer in Canada, so practiced securities and mergers acquisitions law. And during my 3-year stint as a junior associate at one of Canada's biggest law firms, my life was like one of those characters on Suits. Right? So as a junior lawyer, a lot of paperwork, worked on these deals. It was a great training ground because I knew I have the DNA of a deal maker. So you need to actually acquire some type of solid skill set to be that deal maker, to be in that deal making framework. So for me, it was legal skills. So while I was at the law firm, this is back in Vancouver, British Columbia, the senior partners were very geeked out on going to the Okanagan. That's our wine region. It's like Napa for California. We have the Okanagan. And they would go there summertime and come back with a full trunk full of cases of wine. And they would be like, oh, I bought rosé at this winery, or I bought Sauvignon Blanc there. I bought Pinot Noir. So it's just a thing. It's a very trendy thing. And so I come from a family that actually, like, my parents, I don't think they've ever really drank alcohol. It's just not a thing in my family. But I got so mesmerized by this wine industry in BC. I got into it. actually quite late when I was practicing law. I think that was a long time ago, aged like 24, 25 back then. And I was like, oh, wow, this is so amazing. And so I really got into it. And so from there, it's not unexpected, right? So how do I go from practicing law to starting an export agency, exporting BC wines to Greater China region, countries like China and Taiwan? Completely unexpected. But it's because I did one thing. And then when I was doing the one thing, something happened or some observation took place where it led me to capitalize on the timing of the market. So I went into wine exporting. This is circa 2010 when China was buying up the world's chateaus, the world's production of wine. Things changed very rapidly in China. So that was there for a window of 3 years. So within a very short time, I went from not knowing how to do business because I was trained as a lawyer. So zero really business background, entrepreneurial background, but only a passion for BC wine and only a conviction that this stuff is so good that I want to share with people in Asia, right? And that I, at the time, wanted to reconnect with my cultural heritage. So my family's from Taiwan. I wanted to reconnect with my language, Mandarin Chinese. I wanted to do business in China. So I combined all these elements to make my ikigai at the time. You probably know this word ikigai,
Mhm.
Japanese word that talks about the overlaps, like a Venn diagram of what you love, what you're good at, and what the market wants. So that was my ikigai at the time. So from that business, then things changed in China. My family office clients that were buying containers of wine from me, right? So brokering wine from Canada to China, it was not like cases at a time, it was containers at a time. Each container would be like $300,000-$400,000. It's the price you pay for a starter home in America. So I got to know these family office clients, and all of a sudden things change in China. The new government, President Xi, came into place, and they were very much not in alignment with people buying luxury goods from foreign countries. So all of a sudden, it's like overnight, that business went from like zero to my export agency exporting 8% of the total Canadian dollar export to China. And I won a top 40 out of 40 award for that business to all of a sudden there's no business. And so I had to pivot, right? So the pivot came then from my clients telling me, hey, this is what's changed in China. We love doing business with you. We trust you. We know that you're a lawyer. So now instead of us buying wine from you, help us buy businesses in
Mm.
North America. So I went from exporting wine to helping them import money, basically legally through M&A means. And so my business kind of naturally segued into my second business, which is a boutique mergers and acquisitions advisory firm. So I ran that specifically to help my existing clients solve this problem that they had, right? So it's not something that came from my foresight. I wish I could claim to be so smart, but it's just every time you're taking one step, but something happens when you're in that step or you pay attention. I'm always paying attention to what's happening in the market. And then it will tell you like the next step that you're supposed to take will be revealed to you so that I take the next step. And then my second business, the M&A boutique agency, got acquired by PricewaterhouseCoopers in Vancouver, BC. So I went there, hung up there as the youngest ever like deal counsel in history. And so while I was there, I met people that would later on become my co-founders. So these are people that were running like the family office practice over there, a younger generation. So then I got a look into what's happening in North American family offices. So then I left with some people from PwC, and then we started my third business, which was a multi-family office practice in Vancouver. And then from there, it parlayed into a fintech business. And then California tequila seltzer business that happened right around at the beginning of COVID because I moved to California and I noticed that there's a lot of hard seltzers out there. But I was thinking to myself, what is a hard seltzer? Is it made of gin? Is it made of whiskey or vodka? What's going on? So then I realized that hard seltzers are actually made of malt, right? So malt liquor, the ingredient malt is actually a leftover trash ingredient from beer making. But the genius behind White Claw turned that into a thing and created this low alcohol, high bubbly taste for young people. They're now starting to not be super into wine and beer or even cocktails. So now there's a whole trend of non-alc, right? So most of the people, I'm sure you probably don't drink very much. I actually don't drink very much. anymore. Yeah, exactly. So younger people in college, they're not drinking. They're doing on non-alc brands. Like maybe when they go to social thing, like they would rather chew a CBD gummy, for example, or do something else. Like a lot of the younger population, they're just not drinking. And so every single time like the business gets set up, because I noticed a trend and I noticed the way things have been done in an incumbent legacy industry, that is showing me so many places of inefficiencies that could be optimized. And one thing I'm super obsessed with is actually optimization. So optimization for efficiency, optimization for the most like commonsensical way of doing things. So thinking through first principles. And so even though I've done a lot of things across different industries, but the through line is that I would come in as an outsider, but then I would come in and disrupt and innovate as a very formidable challenger. So that's been the theme. And that's actually the theme of my TEDx talk that's coming up.
What does your first principles process look like? How do you know that when you're deducing back, you've reached ground truth and that's something you can build a competitive advantage on?
I think it's case by case. So you just would look at something and you ask yourself, okay, it's been done this way. Does it make sense? Is there a better way to do it? What are the assumptions that people have for doing things a certain way? There's this story that we all know, right? So your mom, when she was preparing you a sandwich, she probably cut off the crust, the bread crust. And you don't ask her that, right? But one day maybe you're curious. So you ask, why are you doing that? Why do you cut those off? And she'll be like, it's because my mom always did that. And then her mom would say, well, it's because my mom always did that. But no one ever questioned. So most of the time, 99% of the population, they don't question why things are done a certain way. So I think applying first principles, first of all, you have to have that curiosity, intellectual curiosity, and open-mindedness to ask yourself, why is this done this way? So can we do it a different way? So challenge the assumption, challenge the status quo, look at things that can be done differently. I'm sure you probably have a lot of examples throughout your day where you notice something and you're just like, I don't get it. I don't understand that. So I think being
Mm,
curious, like I'm always asking questions about why certain things are being done this way and that way. And sometimes it annoys people, but I'm just trying to be curious, because the more curious you are, the more questions you ask, the more likely you're going to find that interesting idea that's going to change the world.
definitely. Yeah, I totally know what you mean when it comes to questioning assumptions. And what about when it comes to putting that product out in the market and pressing past? So, for example, you talked about something that you have coming up, which will be potentially private equity. I'm not going to give too much detail just in case. So don't want to step across. So, something in private equity where this market has not adopted that much technology across their workflows. How do you go against that inertia for those who are saying that that's how it's been? We don't want to change. A lot of people would say they look at that market and say that market's not going to change because that's not the way they do things. But in reality, that's where the opportunity is. So how do you go against the inertia and really land and create something scalable and successful?
If you look at financial markets like private equity or real estate, anything in finance, really the bottom line is time and money, right? So if I can show them by implementing AI agents for this workflow, for that workflow, I'm saving you hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and I'm saving you 20 hours a week. Are you not going to do that? If their North Star is accomplishing more, driving higher returns in a shorter period of time, then rationally they would opt for what would help them do that, right? So it's a case of demonstrating what we could do for these type of legacy industries. So I think you just look at people's North Star and then you show them, if I create this value for you, it drives up your return, it shortens your time, it eliminates the need for you to hire this analyst or that analyst at $200,000 a year. Are you not going to do it? It would make sense for you to do it, right? So I think it's just really a simple exercise of demonstrating, one, what's coming and what I can do for you.
Makes sense. Applying that clear and plain. You don't have to wrestle with the emotions as much.
I'm sure that it's a numbers game. So sometimes you will bump into the old guards of legacy systems. And I think a lot of it is really just a technology barrier, right? So I think, unfortunately, I think in this case, it's like the demographic segmentation is real. So I work with people that are in their 50s and 60s most of the time. And I'm finding that the technology divide is actually quite real. Like I'm dealing with people that are having a hard time even using a Google Drive, for example. So how do you get them from that vantage point to being fully comfortable with AI workflows? So I think some people would embrace change, other people won't, but you want to help the people that want to get on with this technological advance because it is coming. So whether you like it or not, back then, I think from people, I think evolving from, I don't know, face-to-face meetings or fax. Remember the days of fax? I don't know if you remember that. I remember that. To email, to people are having a lot of concerns about online banking, but now everything is commonplace. Everything is very normalized. So I think AI workflows, AI agents, agentic workflows, those are going to be very normalized very soon.
So understanding and communicating that it is going to change anyways. So you might as well be adopting of it. And I think lowering that barrier to entry. So for example, the person who doesn't know how to use a Google Drive, then what if I could just remove the fact that you need to use a Google Drive at all from your workflow?
Exactly.
And that file would be accessible.
Yes.
Perfect.
You can cater it to meet them at their comfort level.
Good stuff. So as you're looking forward, what are the things that, as you look into this vision, you are concerned about or that you might struggle with? And how do you go about overcoming those things?
For myself, I also have my own ceilings in terms of how fast I can learn something. So right now, I'm super geeked on anything AI, right? So I'm purposely drinking from fire hose. Like everything I can get my hands on, I'm doing. I'm working with large language models. I work with GPT every day, and I try to just really integrate these things into my daily practice. And I have a leadership style of going first. So everything that I talk about, I actually embody that first and foremost before I will preach that to anybody else. Yeah, so it's this process of really embodying what I'm talking about and how I see the future shake up. So if you look at people like George Hinton, I think he's the godfather of AI. He's been talking in public about AI making most of the jobs irrelevant to humans. So he's saying that young people you should either get ahead in AI and really like embrace that, or you should be looking at going into a trade like plumbing, like being a mechanic or being a nurse, like something that requires maneuvering of your motor skills because robotics is not evolving as fast, right? But a lot of the white collar jobs, I think we are seeing that unfold right now in real times. Like a lot of things can be done just through even simple GPT, like GPT-4. Like I built my fund deck. Typically it would take weeks, me working with analysts to make the graphs and stuff. I did it this time, just 3 days with GPT as my analyst. So things are evolving so fast. So it's like either you get ahead of the curve and you really embrace that, or you can choose the other way. Choose the way of going back to nature, going back to more, I would say, like trade-oriented vocations, and these will still be safe, right? So I think there's a lot of discourse online about the emergence of AGI, like the threats, like definitely these are things on my mind, and I'm just like anybody else. I'm very much paying attention to it. I want to embrace it, so I have data about exactly what it is so that it doesn't become an abstract thing that people just talk about, but you actually know what is happening. You're feeling that.
And if you look at today, when it comes to developing products and the speed at which foundational models are improving in their ability to do tasks, it's really accessible for anybody to take the path of jumping on and saying, I'm going to be, the way I look at it, the way I phrase it is the commander of the machine. And there's also in my mind, to go along that thread of what you're talking about, what jobs will exist. There's the commanders of the machines, people who will be able to get machines to do things that are very high leverage at scale. There's commanders of capital, so people like yourself. If you have that talent and the ability and you develop that to be able to raise capital or rally capital and apply it to opportunities and or these machines or these models as they advance, that's another way. Then there's the commanders of people. These are creators. These are people who are streamers or YouTubers and all those kind of things. And there's probably a whole set of other type commander type roles and the things that people can do. And yeah, I'm fully with that. And I actually had my last guest was a VC in San Francisco. And I asked him that. I said, so if you think that we're emerging at this point where the cost to develop software and the skill required to develop software is decreasing so much, then ultimately everything will converge to fit back to real world work, the trades, everything that you mentioned. And he said, I'm a techno optimist. I don't really think that's going to happen. And it seems like from a first principles basis that if, for example, in 5 years, you can just spin up the software product, then what is the value of building a software product? If you could just one shot it and say, hey, I need a CRM and it can build it in 3 hours and there's nothing else that needs to be done, what fit in the physical world, physical assets, land, like you're investing in gold or these things that actually make the world move, machines, robots will become infinitely more valuable.
Yeah, very well said. I can tell that you've given a lot of thoughts to these topics. Things can be built very quickly these days. If you go to Lovable, I don't know if you use lovable.dev.
I do.
You can set up a landing page in literally 2 minutes, right? So things that would take people days and you hiring an agency, a WordPress person to do for weeks, now you can do in 5 minutes. Same thing with anything analytical, research-based, or anything that typically like an investment banking analyst or private equity analyst could do, you could do it with a GPT very easily, right? So even writing, like writing a book, like writing for my TEDx script and things like that, I'm just very much assisted by technology. And I think it's a little bit sad because I think what I hear from like some of it, like I would say, like people in their early 20s that I've been talking to, a lot of them embrace AI, but a lot of their friends had gone to traditional schooling, like they were good students. So they went to like traditionally like very good universities, but then they went on to get good jobs at investment banks or even Google or these type of establishment, big companies. And then they recently got laid off. So now they've gone a complete opposite end. And then they hate AI. They're like the anti-technology angle. So they don't want anything to do with that because now they're traumatized by being replaced. So I think it's better to, again, get ahead of what's happening and be fully informed, and then you preserve the optionality to be sovereign, and then you can choose. But for me, I do believe that there will be a time when we probably will see universal basic income, but 10,000 a year, what's that going to do for anybody? I think for most people, it's not enough to live a meaningful life. But I think we will come to a day where that is going to be a reality. And a lot of the population will have to embrace, or they will embrace going back to the basics and choosing homesteading or community living or something of that nature. So it will become, I do worry that the society will become polarized and fractured more than today. So that is definitely something that's already happening. And and I'm very much in the flow of observing that and seeing opportunities to see if I can make a difference, a positive difference.
The cost for not taking action and not embracing change has never been higher.
Exactly.
So for those people, to go along that thread of what you're saying, the ones who got a job at Google or something like that, there's nothing stopping you from just spinning up a company aside from what's in your own mind.
Exactly.
Trying to create as much value as possible.
Yeah, there is now no more excuse. So things can be done very rapidly. You can spit out a product very quickly, go to market very quickly. So really the limitation is yourself, is you.
And you mentioned a lot of these threads through your communication. I can tell that essentially a lot of the learning that we hear about, you said ikigai and other concepts and terms like that, North Star, and just throughout the way you communicate, it seems very deeply embedded in your psychology, your conscious, the way you view the world. How did you go about getting to this level? Was it just you talked a little bit about your foundation of how you educate yourself and how you approach that, but how have you really formed this philosophy that has produced the success that you've had in your career?
I think just like anybody else, it's a long journey and continuing journey of personal development. So I think I started personal development in a very formal manner when I was actually at the law firm because I was deeply unhappy. I had gone to undergrad, got good grades, went to law school, got to #1 prestigious law firm in Canada, and I thought I had everything, right? So what I ended up having was 10 different black dresses or black suits, 10 different pairs of black high heels, and like the optics of success. And yet I was deeply unhappy. So I think at that time, I had a friend who from high school who then became a Landmark forum leader. So he was then teaching workshops or seminars at Landmark. He then introduced me into Landmark, which I don't know if much about the formal kind of personal development ecosystem. That was like the beginning of personal development. And then, of course, it branched into so many things under the sun, right? So from that point, I went on to explore very widely. I have done Tony Robbins. Like I said, I pretty much like you name it, everything that exists, I've done it. And I was not afraid to invest in myself and invest in these courses. And I think it's basically self-brainwashing, right? So how many years would it be? Like almost 20 years of just proactively seeking personal development frameworks and exploring different ideas, different perspectives. And of course, listening to podcasts, reading books, having these talks with people like you, who's obviously you're very clearly somewhat on the journey as well. So it's compound effect of so many little things over time. It's never like one thing. And it's always like the compound effect of so many things day after day.
What's a belief you've had to radically change about yourself?
I think right now I'm still very much working on changing certain aspects of my identity. So, for example, I feel like in my life, I've achieved 97% of what I wanted to ever accomplish, but the last 3% is that much harder than the 97%. So, to overcome or bridge the gap of the last 3%, I have to very proactively engineer the next version of my identity and integrate myself to it. Yeah, so I share with you that recently I've been working with a hypnotherapist. I have multiple coaches that I have on retainer, right? So I have, like, most recently, I hired a coach who is male, but whose brand is that he is a male coach that's very in touch with his feminine self. It's like a very different perspective. So I'm very open-minded as to exploring the world through the lenses of people with different points of view and just being very radically open-minded. And so I think my understanding of what I could accomplish. So maybe at one point I thought if when I first started business, my goal was to be named top 40 on a 40. To my surprise, like that came pretty early. It came within 3 years of me founding my first business. So then I fully embodied, like at some point I fully embodied that, right? So then now if my goal is, I'm not going to exactly publicly share exactly what goals I have right now, but let's say if I one day want to run a unicorn company, then I need to embody that. But I think because of my social conditioning and whatever else, I'm not quite yet embodying that. And therefore, I'm not that yet. So whatever I don't have right now, I know is because I haven't lived into that identity. And so if that thing is what I still want to pursue, then I need to find proactive ways, systematic ways to help me live into that identity.
Excellent. What about an internal mantra? Anything stand out that you've used or are using?
Yes, yeah, it's funny you say that. I have it right on my phone. So I have a noon hour alarm that helps me. That's in a mantra. And I didn't create this mantra. I've been following this guy, David Guillaume, who teaches Kabbalah. I don't know if you see him on social media. I discovered him only about 3 months ago, but just really love the materials because I feel like a lot of the stuff that he teaches from Kabbalah very much resonates with the stuff I already believe in. And so I can read it out to you. Like, this is my noon alarm, right? This is my mantra. Creator, help me become the vessel to receive your abundant light. Guide me to transform my limitations into strength. Teach me to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. Fill me with the wisdom to align with your will. May my expanded vessel be a conduit for miracles and blessings. Something like that. And then
Powerful.
yeah, some people will say it's God. To me, it's the universe. It's all really the same thing. It's the source. And the main teachings of Kabbalah, or what David's been teaching, is it's not so much that you're praying or you're wanting to achieve things, but it's more about praying for your vessel to expand. So we're all vessels. The fact that I have created businesses that's 7-figure, 8-figure businesses and not yet 9-figure businesses or unicorns is because I'm not yet a vessel for those bigger things. And so I can't pray to the creator for those things to become a centimillionaire or to become a billionaire without having the vessel to contain that. This is also the reason why a lot of the people that have won lotteries, like they lose the money within 3 years, typically based on stats, is because they're simply not the vessel. So unless you work on the vessel, you will lose it. Same thing in relationships, right? So you might have your significant other of your dreams. So if you don't work on being that vessel to contain that relationship, they will leave you. Like, as simple as that. You got to work on expanding your vessel. It's all about working on that expansion.
And within that is probably the earliest form of growth mindset.
Exactly. It's just all these things over the years, I've noticed that they're all really saying the exact same things, just in different ways, like under different brands, but they're all actually
Right.
the same things. And even if you look at religious texts, the Bible, the Quran, or whatever, they are all more or less saying the same things, like in terms of the basic principles of how to be. But I think as human beings, we just need to hear things differently. There's one thing that's said to me may resonate more than the other thing that is said to you. So we just need to hear it. We need to hear it again, but just in different ways.
Yeah, that one's going to stick with me for sure. I'm going to apply that, becoming the vessel for the things that I want. I researched the Kabbalah when I was in my early 20s and enjoyed it. There's a lot of insight there, but I never heard it in that way. Just like you said, it's very true. You hear it in a different way and it can set you on a totally different path.
Yes.
So what's your message or lesson you want to leave for those who feel compelled to take themselves up on a career that is contributing, giving back to society, kind of like the path what you've taken yourself? That advice grounded in helping them achieve success or fulfillment, what would that be?
I would say just do it. Like, you have now no excuse with the technology that we have. You have no excuse. Like, it doesn't take a lot of capital anymore to spin up a new product, to spin up a new business. If you have a great idea that you believe will change the world, will make the world a better place, it is your duty to do that. So just do it. Do it. And then, so what if you do it and then you fail? So there's no failure. There's only lessons and then there's success, right? So I want the audience and the people watching this to know that you can do it. Like, I'm not special. I don't think anybody else that's been on the show is more special than any other person, but they have taken the first step, right? So the difference is that they have taken the first step to do something that they believe in, and then they continue to choose that every single day. So just do that and choose that every single day.
Alice, that was amazing. Thank you for being on Titans of Today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I had a blast.
Cheers. We'll see you back in the future sometime. We'll see.
Sounds great.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching this episode of Titans Up Today. What did you learn from it? Make sure to drop a comment below with your most valuable insight so that other people can engage in the conversation around what this speaker brought to the table. And then on another front, make sure to subscribe so that every time we drop a new episode, you will be notified. And that way you can keep fueling your dreams and your brain with fresh insights, which can help you along your journey and along your path to your goals. So thank you so much again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next interview.